Okay, good evening to everyone. I'm Malsha and I'm going to discuss about mainly on postgraduate study application process. So this is a little bit about myself. I have recently started PhD in NTU and I'm in School of Chemical and Biomedical Engineering, and you can see my research area. So at the end of my undergraduate period, I have so many questions in my mind, whether I should do higher study or I should go to the industry first, or should I make a publication, or in which country I should do higher study, or what is the higher study application process. So there were many confusions. So I think you guys also have so many questions and confusions at this phase. But it is quite normal because you can resolve them with the time and with the effort. So what I did, so these are the 10 main steps I have followed. So these steps are, you can apply them to many countries and many universities. So I'm trying to generalize many things, but if you select your country and the university, so do a self-study first, because there may be some differences between the things I'm going to say and the university requirements. So the first step is the selecting the path. So I think Dr. Bandara has already elaborated this, and the program. So this was also discussed about this thing, but you can see here, as Dr. Bandara said, PhD is a postgraduate study by research, but there are two types of master, by research and coursework. So when I was going to apply to the Canada, so here we cannot do a direct PhD. So it is their requirement, we have to do a master by research before starting the PhD. So for such countries, we have to do a master by research. Also one of Canadian professor mentioned that even though that university has the direct PhD option, since we don't have much research papers from undergraduate research study, we should do a master by research before starting the PhD. So master by research, the major component is research. In the master by coursework, the major component is doing modules. So the next step is the research study. So having some kind of research experience is really important because many professors and universities are keen on this. And you should either have some of these abstract or extended abstract or research paper. It is well known that research paper is the best option, but even though having an abstract will be enough for your opportunity. So your paper can be at any publication stage, experimental writing, submitting, accepted or published stage. But as in my experience, if your paper is at least in submitted stage, it will be a better option for your process, because then they will consider your paper and give you some marks for your research experience. And the next step is the selecting countries, universities, and checking their admission requirements. So for that, you can see here 15 countries with highest number of foreign students. So what I did basically was I selected 10 to 12 countries based on my personal preferences and the quality education and also the visa process. So it depends on the person. So if you have some preferred country, go with that, or you can do some self-study. So with that, I have listed my countries. So these 4 countries were in my priority list. So I have applied to 7 universities and 3 were successful and 1 was still pending. But for these 3 countries, I was going to apply, but I couldn't do due to the time constraints. And also some of these European countries, I have checked their requirements and their process, but I didn't do the application. I didn't do any make any applications. So after selecting 10 countries, 10 to 12 countries, then I have prepared this Excel sheet in order to screen out few countries, because I cannot focus on all the 10 countries. So I had to do some screening process. So for each country, I have listed 2 to 3 universities. And also I have mentioned their scholarship quota and their visa process and their application deadlines and the cost of living and IELTS requirement and entry requirement, and also their the availability of my preferred research area in these universities. So, so during that self-studies, I have come across this direct PhD option. So in some countries, I have seen that direct PhD option is available. So countries like Singapore, Aussie, New Zealand, Hong Kong, UK, Thailand, you can do a direct PhD. That means after your bachelor's, you can start your PhD. But in some of these countries, you cannot do a PhD without having a master. So usually most professors prefer master by research. So, but they also accept the master by course, but it is better to do a master by research, because in master by research, you can publish some papers and you can have some research experience. So here you can see the difference of the direct PhD option and the master with PhD option, the time duration differences. So actually this direct PhD option is usually providing for the students with good qualification. So it means like for the students with first class or second upper, but you can try even if you don't have first class or second upper. So the other thing you should be aware on is financial assistance. So you know that when you are doing your postgraduate study in a foreign country, you should have some of scholarship or stipend. Otherwise, you have to self-fund it. So scholarship can be directly from a university or can be an external body. So if you need a scholarship directly by university, you can try these countries. And the one of example is NTU Research Scholarship. So I and Rochelle Akka, we have this NTU Research Scholarship. And also there are some kind of scholarship from external bodies like Australian Awards, Erasmus, and the DAD Scholarship. So they may be government scholarship or scholarship from some corporate bodies. So in these scholarships, you have to apply with your PhD or MSc application, but here you have to apply them for separately. It's not related with the university. And regarding the stipend, in the Canada, I have obtained the stipend from the professor because it's kind of a financial agreement between the professor and the student. Usually in the Canada and USA, most of master students are coming with the stipend. So it will be supplied from the supervisor directly from his available funds. So after writing to the professor, if he has interest to work with you, then he can provide some financial assistance to work with you. So, and also remember that financial assistance usually covers tuition fee and also the living expenses. If it doesn't cover, then you have to have your own money. So I have mentioned that in that Excel sheet, I have included only 3 to 4 universities. But in order to extend my list, I was going to make a list of university for the selected countries. So I initially selected Canada and Australia. Then I have checked with the university ranking list. So if you have some university in your mind, go with that. Otherwise, you can check with Times ranking, or you can also check the university ranking based on your research area. So either method is okay. So in my case, I have categorized universities into 3 ranking sets for a more safer side, because if in case I didn't get the if I didn't get my application successful from the universities under 100 rankings, then at least I was sure then I can get the I can be successful from this third category. So it is always better to have more options in your hand, because in my case, the COVID situation also was there. So it also affected my application process. So I think it is always better to have more options in your hand. So after making a list for each country, then I was going to see whether these universities have my research area, because I have some research area in my mind, but in some universities that research area is not available. So I had to check. So you can, so I'm going to see it with NTU example. So you can go to the NTU website, just Google it. And here you can see this homepage. You can see about NTU and admissions. Admission section is usually for the things related for the application process, how you can apply for MSc or PhD. And the academic section is usually for the things related to the departments, faculties, and also the staff profiles. And the research section is usually for the research projects and the research areas available in your university. So after checking with, I'm going to my school website. So you can see in my school website, there are faculty staff profiles. So in NTU website, you cannot see the research areas here. You have to go to each profile and check whether that professor has the similar research interest. So, but in some university website, their research areas are mentioned in the first page. So after selecting the supervisor, you can write to them. But why we need a supervisor? Because in many universities, you should have a professor. You should have a supervisor before the application. And you should get the approval to work with him or her. But in some universities, there is another option. You can submit your application and then university will suggest supervisors based on your research proposal. But I recommend option 1, and I have done the option 2 for one of New Zealand University, but I always recommend option 1. So this is the research focus area in the university website. In most university website, you can find this. If you have some confusion whether this department or this program is okay for me, this is the place I want to go, then you can find their research section, and then you can see their research areas. Because I also had the similar confusion, because my research area was food processing, but in some Canadian universities, food processing was under the food science department. But countries like Australia and Singapore and New Zealand, food processing and food engineering is under the chemical engineering department. So before writing to the supervisors or finding the supervisors, you should check whether this department is suitable for me. And finally, in the university website, you can find the graduate admissions. So here you can find the admission requirements. So do this in advance. Otherwise, you will have not less time to do the examination and the preparation of document, because when you are making the application, you have to submit several documents and several examination scores. So these are some requirements. So this will be elaborated more by Rochelle Akka. So better to get an idea about the admission requirements in advance. So after that, I obtained my transcript and degree certificate. So remember, these are needed at the application stage. But if you don't have this, you can at the application stage, you can ask an extension from the university. Usually they are providing it. And also, but actually I have sent transcript and degree certificate to university professors because then they can check my academic qualifications. And also you need to prepare an academic CV. Please be aware that it's not kind of a CV you are sending to the industrial jobs. So make a separate academic CV. And the sixth and seventh step I have done simultaneously. Sixth step is the preparing for IELTS and GRE. So IELTS and TOEFL are English examinations, and GRE is for assessing your analytical and logical skills. So this will also be more elaborated by Rochelle Laka. So the seventh step is finding and writing to professors. So in previously I have already mentioned how to find the professors. So then write a good email to professors. So I have written to 85 professors in 4 countries. So you should be aware that you have to write to more professors, because everyone will not reply you, because they don't have funding, or they don't like you, or there may be different options. So you have to write to more and get more options. So write an email with good impression, and please be aware that your email should not be a generalized email to all the professors. Otherwise, some professors don't like to read such emails, because they will be kind of a boring to them. So, but there may be some generalized content in your email, kind of your academic qualification, research experiences, goals. They are the same for all the emails, but for the specific professor, you have to imply why you like to work with him, why you like his research area, and how his supervision will be important to your future, and also why the particular program or university is important to your goals. So be specific, add some examples, specific examples, and add some specific content to your email. And also, I had a habit that I have sent first email to professors based on their time zone. So I have sent early morning in their working days. Otherwise, they will have many emails, and my email will be sometimes missed. And also, if I didn't get reply for my first email, then I have sent three reminders and in every week. So you can see here this Excel sheet. I have maintained this Excel sheet to keep a track regarding the responses from professors. So I have also used the color code. Then I can decide what should I do as the next step, and also should I write to more professors, whether I should have enough options in my hand, or should I try more? Should I try more universities? So these kind of things I was able to analyze from this Excel sheet. So it was a bit easier with such table. And the next step is interviews with professors. So after writing to the professors, if he has an interest to work with you, then he will tell that we will have a meeting, kind of an interview. But don't worry, it's a Skype or Zoom meeting. So he will ask about questions regarding your qualifications, reasons for your passion, and also because 7 to 8 professors had interviews with me. Some professors also asked some questions to assess my personality and attitudes. But I think all interviews were successful because I think you can also face to them successfully if you answer confidently, and you show your passion for your PhD or master. And also one of professor in Canadian University, he asked to present on his publication. So I only had to answer few of his questions, but the entire interview was based on a presentation. And the ninth step is submitting your application. So in here, you have to create an online account in your university portal, and you have to provide all the details, and you have to usually you have to attach soft copies of the documents, but some universities will ask hard copies. And also you have to provide SOP, research proposal and recommendation. And at the final stage, you have to pay the application fee. So in my experience, it was about this much amount. And also during your application process, please be aware on the deadlines. So I think you don't know about the SOP. So SOP is a document to state your real purpose to do a PhD or MSc. And the research proposal, I think you know. And for the recommendation, you have to provide the contact details of the referees. You don't need to provide the recommendation letters, because university will directly contact the referees and get the confidential recommendations. And if we consider about the intakes, you have come across two intakes in many universities, fall intake and winter intake. But in some Canadian and Australian universities, I have also seen the spring intake, but it's not very common. But in many universities, you can see fall and winter intake. But the fall intake is the main one. So as example here, there are NTU PhD deadlines for 2 intakes. So consider this one. Assume you are going to study NTU PhD in this August. Then you have to apply by, you had to apply by 31st of January this year. So you can see there is about 6 months of gap. So it depends on the university and also depends on the country, because usually in USA and Canadian university also, their deadlines are in January to February, and also in many European universities. So better to check with your university and the country. And also please be aware that this application process will take some time. So in order to make the application on this time, you should prepare your documents and you should do examinations within your time, but you can manage it if you follow the correct steps. Otherwise, you will miss your preferred intake. And the final thing is facing scholarship committee interviews. If you are getting a stipend, then this will there will be no scholarship interview, because you are you will have an agreement with your professor. But if you are getting a scholarship from the university or from an external body, so you will have such interviews. It is bit for my case, it was bit similar to interviews with professor, but it may be a bit serious. So these are the 10 steps I have followed. So I think you have get some idea about the higher study application process. There may be some differences based on the country and the universities, but I think you can start from this point. And if you have if you need to get more details, you can follow my blog or you can contact us. And also I would like to say that this higher study application process is a bit time consuming and also requires some effort, but don't lose your hope at the middle of application process, because everyone can achieve this dream. So thank you very much.